Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Vicki Goodman, and on behalf of the Friends of the Semel Institute for Neuroscience and Human Behavior at UCLA, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our Open Mind. This is our first Open Mind of the fall 2018, spring 2019 season, and I cannot think of a better way to begin than to have with us this evening NBA champion and cultural icon, Metta World Peace. In his new book, No Malice, My Life in Basketball, or How a Kid from Queensbridge Survived the Streets, the Brawls, and himself to become an NBA champion, Metta writes about the ups and downs of his basketball career, his personal struggles, and life after the game. From the infamous Malice at the Palace incident to his eventual NBA Citizenship Award and game-winning shot during the Lakers' 2000 NBA championship run, Metta's name has come to define the person he has grown into, a peaceful warrior and a mental health advocate. To speak to his generosity and kindness, I would like to share an email that we received from a father who wanted to attend tonight's program, but saw that it was sold out. Quote, Metta World Peace befriended my adopted son from Sierra Leone in a gym in New York City when my son was rehabilitating his reconstructed leg in 2013. Metta's natural concern for my son's situation was special and inspiring. He is a true inspiration to overcoming life's journey of tragic events and development of true character and hope. In addition, I would like to add that Metta has come here to the Resnick Neuropsychiatric Hospital at UCLA to visit with some of the patients, and I know what a difference that has made to them. Speaking of the Resnick Neuropsychiatric Hospital, we are also very fortunate to have with us this evening Dr. Thomas Strauss, who is the medical director. Yay! Dr. Tom Strauss is the medical director of the Resnick Hospital and also holds the Maddie Katz Chair in Palliative Care at UCLA. He is also the faculty advisor to the Resnick Neuropsychiatric Hospital Board of Advisors. Tonight's program, and Dr. Strauss will be leading the discussion with Metta, and following their discussion, we will have a Q&A. If you have not already received an index card when you came in, we will pass them out. We will take questions only from the index cards, and we appreciate your cooperation with that. Tonight's program, for those of you who are here for the first time, is part of the Friends of the Semel Institute's Open Mind series that brings together cultural leaders and scientists to present programs about mental health issues as a free public service to the community. We are able to do this because of the generosity of our Open Mind community. So think public television, NPR. If you feel that this evening's program is worthwhile and you'd like to see more programs like this brought to the community, we hope you will join our community of Open Mind supporters. You can go to our website, friendsofthesemelinstitute.org, where you will also find a calendar of our upcoming events. The next program will be on September 26th on ADHD. It's almost sold out, so please make your reservations as soon as possible. Following the Q&A, you will have the opportunity, if you have not already purchased a copy of No Malice, you can purchase a copy and have Metta sign it. So without further ado, let's give a Lakers UCLA welcome to Metta World Peace.
Thank you. Thanks for that introduction. And it's kind of overwhelming to be speaking in front of such a prestigious crowd. One of my idols I grew up watching as a kid that wanted to be like any NBA player, Kurt Rambis is here. I appreciate you. That little clap. But yeah, I've spoke here before when I raffled my ring off for mental health awareness. And I was here upstairs talking to some of the kids that was going through things similar to what my family members have gone through. And I always enjoy speaking because if I could inspire somebody by a message, by some words, they can go back and help a kid or help somebody that needs help is always a good thing. These groups are small in the world because, you know, the world is filled with, not filled, but a lot of people would prefer, you know, money over, you know, natural happiness. And you see a lot of people chasing it, but we forget about, thank you for that clap. I always like clap. And we forget about things that, as humans, what we are connected to, trees, the air, water, sand, the beach in California, you know, and we forget that often. So with that being said, you see a lot of kids are not out enjoying nature, stress, you know, anything can trigger stress. Seeing war on TV can trigger stress, anxiety, what's going to happen tomorrow, is our country going to blow up, somebody might love the world. You never know what can trigger anything. A family member left, a dad left the household, the kid starts to spiral out of control, you know, and we got to be mindful of that. Got to be mindful of what we are putting out there. I feel like the more positive things we put out there, you know, the better for our future, for the youth. And that's why I try to always tell my story and be open and be honest, although sometimes it hurts me. But I like to tell people the truth. And, you know, my story is my dad met my mom, I think he was 22. And when they had me in her belly, he didn't tell my mom that he had mental health issues. She found out later. By that time, she was in love and it was over. And we had a history, definitely a chemical imbalance in the artist side of the family. My brother currently is still coming out of the prison system. When he was 10, he was in psychiatric wards on medication. Then I was already on my way out, trying to go to high school, trying to go to college, and trying to make it to the NBA. Didn't have time for my brothers like that. So he went through the jail system and Rikers Island and psychiatric wards. Then my little sister, she's like 26 now, 23. Same route. My auntie, psychiatric ward, Creekmore, New York City Hospital. I've seen everything in the household, you know, from dysfunction and everything, and I think it kind of molded me. The reason I started playing basketball was because I was getting in trouble as an 8-year-old boy, and my dad wanted to put me on the court and said I need to put my energy somewhere else, and I fell in love with this game, and the things that I was trying to escape, I put onto the court, and that's what you've seen, all that passion that you've seen over the years, just never wanting to go back. My older brother, right before I went to St. John's, my older brother that I leaned on, I get home one day and they say your brother's got locked up. I said, what happened? Drug trafficking, Greyhound bus, moving a lot of drugs, moving guns. And that was the guy I needed in my life. I was like, we're gonna go on this journey together and, you know, you ain't gonna have to work. And we gonna be straight. He was a really smart businessman and I needed him in my life, and he was gone 10 years. I ain't seen him since 27 years old. That's when I seen him next. Just no parole, straight flat. So during that time, it was tough for me, and I had a baby coming. I had a baby coming at the age of 17. So I was raising a child, grew up in a dysfunctional household, trying to be a parent, trying to be a good partner. But when you don't have a good reference point, then it's hard to be a good parent, and it's hard to be a good partner. So with that being said, I transitioned my 501c3 slightly from mental health to parenting and partnership. I feel like the stronger the household, the stronger you are with your partner, the better off your children will be emotionally. The better you are as a parent, the better your children will be emotionally. Spreading that love not only to your partner. We always say when you're married, you should love your wife or your husband the most, but don't forget about the children. And so that's what we're really focusing on now, and what I'm focusing on. And I feel like that's at the core of a lot of mental health issues. And I want to continue to evolve my message. We're doing a trip to Yellowstone. I went to Yellowstone Park this year, got inspired, never been there, love nature. And I wanted to do an event with them. We're taking 5 urban kids from California, black urban communities. We're taking 5 white urban community kids from urban communities in the South, and we're going to do Latino, and we're going to do other. In America, it's like other. We're going to do other. Okay? Right now it's like no balance. We all know I know what I've been through as an African American, what my ancestors been through, and over the years with people like yourself and people in the world wanting to see equality and no more slavery, and then so now you have the black issue being handled and addressed, and we still have issues, but for the most part it's being addressed. But we're forgetting about a group of kids that is hungry of other ethnicities. So I feel like we have to have balance. This is what we're doing with Yellowstone Park. They're getting behind it. I'm really excited about our next adventure, and we want to really promote this message and teaching these kids in these urban communities about parenting and partnership. It's really hard when you don't have a reference point, like I said earlier, and if you grow up struggling, I don't care what ethnicity you are, if you grow up hungry, you're going to do silly things and bad things, and you're not going to be focusing on your family. On average, the statistics are out there. You're not going to be focusing on your child, and you're probably not in your child's life. You see these situations all the time where the dad, women are perfect. Women are perfect for the most part. You have your flaws, but it's okay. It's mostly the dads that are leaving. And we gotta fix that problem. It's a huge problem, and I feel like if we get to the root of that, it'll be better for our kids. So I'm really excited about this event that we're putting together with Gridello University and Yellowstone Park. After my career, I didn't officially retire yet because I still think I can play, but I can't. I really can't. I'm really bad. But I'm just waiting till I can't even move to retire. I'm missing out on the pension, but it's okay. But after I did that, I came to UCLA, and I was very nervous. It was very frightening not having structure. And I've been the type of person to be suspended in nursery school, okay? Real suspensions, and kindergarten, 1st grade through 8th, 9th through 12th, and in college. And of course, in the NBA. I don't know how that happens. My mom, they seem proud about that. So I don't know why. So, when I left the game, not really leaving the game, I'm still involved in the game, but I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I knew I wanted to coach, I wanted to do all these things. I'm like, I got to focus on something. So I applied for UCLA the next day, digital analytics. No, Yes, actually, absolutely. Digital analytics at UCLA. on Wednesdays at 6, and I did social media. Mondays was digital analytics. Wednesdays was social media. I did Google Analytics in Vancouver, business analytics at Concordia, Irvine on Saturdays at 9 a.m. And I was like, what do I want to do with my life? And if I could sustain and focus in the classroom the same way I focus on defense, if I could weather the storm and if I actually enjoy it, I'm going to continue to do it. And I really, that's one of the most things I'm proud of right now. I was able to really enjoy what I'm doing. I was a math major in college, and my first major was architecture, but I was just focused on money. I didn't want to go back to the hood. So I'm just like, enough of this school stuff. I got to get in the gym and shoot free throws. But I knew I had something to fall back on. It was frightening. And I told myself, if I just give 100% and take that same intensity and put it in the classroom, put it in the books, put it in your career, that I'll be okay. And it was tough for the first couple of years, just figuring out business, figuring out how we're going to make things make sense. How are you going to talk to, venture capitalists without sounding dumb, And I got over the hump, doing much better now, figuring it out. And I can't wait to have my first success story. It's not necessarily about the money. It's more about the process, the fundamentals, going to school, learning, following up, networking, applying it. And I can't wait to tell that story to a kid, that is that grew up similar to me, or that has aspirations of being an entrepreneur, such as the two young gentlemen today. I was doing a podcast. I don't know if they're still here. So I can't wait to, tell that story. And with that being said, I'll finish up here. Had a rough career. I don't know how I made it 18 years. I was supposed to be going a long time ago. Good Lord, I always tell myself I'm so lucky. And was in Indiana at the highlight of my career, third team All NBA, almost got MVP 1 year. Next year probably was going to get it, and as my career was going that way, emotionally I was going this way. Wish I could have won a title in Indiana. That's one of the reasons why I raffled off my ring. That's because when I feel I didn't complete a job, I have to go on to the next. Mission is not accomplished. I wanted an MVP. I wanted more All-Star games. Needed the first team All NBA. It didn't happen. So I was like, I just didn't want any awards. It wasn't enough, and I had a lot of them, but it just wasn't enough. So with that being said, I thought that with my ring, a bigger cause, rather than just give it away to somebody to raise some money, and we did. We raised $671,000, the most ever. But and we gave all the money away to mental health awareness. LeBron could actually do better. He just didn't raffle his ring off yet, but he had break my record real easy. But it was really cool. He was able to help lots of kids. I learned a lot along the way. Just to add a little business to the philanthropy, I wish I would have put that money in an endowment, and then I could have done more, but I didn't know about that stuff when I was young. I didn't know what equity was when I was 23 years old. I got offered equity in vitamin water, didn't know. I'm like, I don't want equity. What's that? Right? It was $50 million, that's what it was. And then that's when I decided to learn, not only did I say I'm gonna push myself to learn business, I'm gonna push myself to continue to give back. I was always afraid to give back because I made so many mistakes. So I said, I don't feel comfortable telling somebody to do right when I've done so much wrong. But, what are you gonna do when you're in the fire emotionally? You still have to give back, no matter what's in front of you, no matter what happened in your life. There's some kid out there that needs you. So I was encouraged by people around me. Heidi Bush, who really doesn't like to speak in front of people, but we architect my turnaround together. We started to just slowly evolve and become the person I wanted to be. So thank you to Heidi. Yes, and it's really an honor to be here. And I guess we're gonna open it up for some questions, and definitely, I know we're gonna be here for a while, but I would love for everybody to stay updated to what we're doing with Yellowstone National Park, with the superintendent and Yellowstone Forever, the official 501c3 of Yellowstone National Park, and LinkedIn is also going to be involved. I somehow convinced them that they bit. And now they gotta go with it. We're gonna try to do something really big, continue to try to change the world. So thank you, and yeah.
Well, you guys now know that this man is all heart and incredibly humble and quite articulate. And we'll see if we can add to what you've already learned. So Metta and I know each other because, as he mentioned, when he was playing for the Lakers, he, on a couple of occasions, came and spent time on our adult and child inpatient units up in the Resnick Hospital. You may not know this, but you are the only celebrity sports figure who's ever done that. Nobody else has done that. There are probably a lot of reasons for that, stigma, anxiety, who knows. But I got to tell you, I still am moved by the image of watching this man walk onto an adult inpatient psychiatric unit with 10 or 12 acutely ill patients sitting in a group room, just sitting down, and as you see, he's not a small person, just sitting down and starting to talk and creating rapport in a way that just blew my mind. I think I told you that at the time, but I'm telling you now. And then, as if that wasn't enough, walking down the corridor to the child unit and seeing these little kids look up at this guy who they knew and they recognized, and probably the boys more than the girls. I don't mean that to sound sexist, but just because they were probably more. Just seeing the look on these kids' faces, and again, the gentleness and the compassion and the way of finding words to communicate with little kids, that it was okay. That was just really incredible. So we thank you again for that. And we actually, the other thing you don't know is that you're the only person who doesn't work at UCLA ever to get the UCLA CI Care Award. It's a service award that we give nurses and doctors and other clinicians who go above and beyond, and Metta received that. But Metta also is a trendsetter. So I still remember in 2010 watching the 7th game of the LA-Boston series, the series in which Metta received his World Championship ring. And he was the hero of that game. He was the most valuable player of that game. And in the immediate post-game interviews, he said to a TV interviewer, probably broadcast to tens of millions of people, something that no professional athlete has ever said before. Do you know what he said? He said, "I want to thank my psychologist." Those were his first words. Did I get it right? Yeah. And he said it without self-consciousness. He said it, I'm guessing you said it because it was from the heart, because you meant it, and because it had something to do with how you'd been able to perform so amazingly. But that was, I mean, there are many professional athletes since who have said things that reduce stigma, and we'll talk some about that, but I think that was the first time I ever saw anything like it. You were almost a decade out in front of everybody else, so that's incredible. Yeah, you want to say something, please, about that?
I just was very grateful for her because I think my...
Oh.
Well,
Can you hear us? Are we? Yeah. Okay.
Not Metta.
Not Metta.
okay. Well, I'll talk a little louder. Oh, there you go. Perfect time. So I used to have so much anxiety before a game. I always had heart. I was never afraid. But certain moments, big shot, knocking down that big shot, I would lose focus. My mind's all over the place. I would still take a shot. But I would miss a lot of them. And I had an anxiety. I wasn't being afraid of the game, just not knowing if the shot's going to go in. So, and then thinking about, potentially fighting on the court. So my psychologist, after we got by anger management, parenting class and stuff like that, I started to just focus on sports. So it was all sports psychology. And she helped me with that, helped me not to focus on, the rah-rah of the Celtics, because anytime an opponent is like rah-rah, I'm like, I'm right back, you know? And I continue to put my team in a bad spot. You know, I'm not focused on the game. You have to be focused on the game. And I wanted to be 100% in the game. And I was that night. I was focused on my breath. I did all the techniques that she told me. You can't meditate during the game. So we had to, I told her, I said, you know, we got to figure this out. And we just came up with some really cool breathing techniques. So throughout the whole game, I was breathing in one motion, no matter how fast I was running, no matter who hit me. It was one rhythm the whole entire game. You know, and even on the free throw line, one rhythm. And it was tough because you could be in the middle of your shot and you're breathing in this new pattern. It was uncomfortable, but then I got comfortable with it. And so I had to thank her. That's kind of the backstory behind that.
I also got to thank you. So I grew up here, and I spent my childhood having my life ruined by the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something that I think you know, and that maybe we'll talk about, and let me remind everybody in the audience that if you have questions you would like Metta to respond to, please feel free to put them on a 3x5 card, which I think have been passed out or are being passed out, yes. So we'll take those up as we go. Again, a little bit behind in terms of this pattern or the standard you set. The NBA has recently set forth guidelines for mental health services for players. And every NBA team is now being asked to provide a minimum set of clinical services that would be available for players, and it's the responsibility of the team to provide those. The Lakers have actually asked us at UCLA to do that, so we're going to be calling you for some advice.
Okay.
Sorry? Oh, here. Where'd it go? There we go. All right. I don't know. So actually, maybe I'll lead that to my first question, and it is, what do you think are the biggest mental health needs for elite athletes, both professional basketball players and others?
That's a really good question. Everybody's so different, you know, different DNA, different family, you know, structures. You can even be from a rich family, and if your parents are working all the time, they're still not giving you that time. The child don't care how much money you got. You know, or you could be from a poor family, and if your mom or dad gave you $1, you didn't have to work for it. You're gonna have bad habits, or you're gonna be, you know, entitled and never having to work for things. And so you just never know who you're dealing with. Coaches like Luke Wallen, they do a really good job of, you know, maintaining the personalities, you know, managing the personalities. So I would say you have to get to know the players. It's very important to try to get players to open up, tell you their backstories. You know, how many coaches actually know if a player's, you know, parents are together? You know, it's super important to know, because you can see different behaviors. And I know in my situation, I was affected by my parents separating at 13 years old, and it took me years to address it. So trying to get the players to open up, be vulnerable, play for players that need it. Not everybody do.
You mentioned in the book also that in many ways an NBA team is a kind of a family, and the experience of joining a family, finding your way, and then waking up one morning to learn you've been traded, or that they're thinking about waiving you, that's probably something that most people in this room don't think about. Anything about that you want to speak to?
Yes, when you play on a team, play for an organization, you become emotionally attached. Something you dreamed of for a long time. Some people dream of relationships. You get that one relationship you love, you become attached to that person. That's how basketball is for basketball players. And when we go on a team, you can see the passion out there. We'll do anything. You look at Steven Jackson when he came and run into the stands after me, you know, and it's that attachment that we have with each other. And when it's broken, sometimes players act out, as you can see when somebody gets traded. I don't like this organization. I can't believe they did that. They just emotionally attached, you know, to the organization, to the team. And the tough thing for me, I moved a lot. In my case, it was my fault. I kept getting in trouble with every team I was on. But when you move family, it's like, do you keep your family in one city? You know, if you're from New York and you get drafted to the Lakers, do you leave your family in New York? Do you bring them? If you get traded to Houston, do you bring them or leave them in LA or send them back to New York?
If you read the book, you'll learn that he liked Indianapolis best. I think that's still true. Yeah.
Indiana was great for me. Donnie Walsh. I was very antisocial at that time, and I would always get these texts from Jermaine O'Neal saying, "Hey, let's go to lunch." And I never went to lunch with any of my teammates. I was always in the room, and I always wanted to get rest. I was always into the game, and practices was like everything to me. I couldn't wait to get back to the next practice, and when practice was over, I would be so upset. And when practice started, I'm like probably the most energized guy, even more than the guy on the last spot trying to make the team. And you know, it was tough. You know, it was tough, but I learned that I had to be more social as I got older, and I was on other teams. I learned I had to be more social.
In the book, you also talk about something you just touched on and that you mentioned in your comments, and that was, it seems like you have an incredible work ethic, that your approach to a problem is to work just as hard as you possibly can to surmount it, and that's how you learn basketball. I don't know if you guys know this, but at least in the book you tell us you came to basketball late compared to a lot of kids, right? I think age 8 was maybe when you got in, and you didn't necessarily feel that you had as many natural talents as at least some of the kids that you played with, and the way you overcame that was just working harder.
Yeah, some of the kids was playing like at 5, 6 years old, and when I started to play, I wasn't that good. I remember my dad first got me into basketball. We was on 12th Street, and we had a game, a 3-on-3 tournament, and we lost, and I was crying. And I remember just saying, "I'm never gonna let this happen again." And from that moment, it kind of helped me get to the league. But then the same thing that helped me, it hurt me. You know, I was in Madison Square Garden. We lose against the Knicks by 1 point. I take the camera off the cameraman, throw the camera, $130,000. Good Lord. You know, break the TV monitor, technical fouls, losing the game in Indiana. We had a great record, but we lost one game. I go into the locker room, break all the pictures on the walls. You know, going on a plane, throwing the food. Nobody eats, throw all the food in the garbage. His teammates mad at me. It was just, what's going on? I just hated losing, you know, so much, and I couldn't deal with it. I'm really sore loser.
So, glad you won in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You're actually, those comments fit right in with this question from the audience, which was there a particular moment or a particular turning point in your basketball career when your sense of maybe being able to regulate yourself changed, or what was the psychological turning point? Maybe that's the best way to put the question.
It was over time. It was over time. You know, when I was 13, that's when I saw my first psychologist, and it was a counselor. My family, everybody goes to the hospital for the most part and take medication, but this one particular time, my mom decided to take me to a counselor. So that's when I started to embrace therapy. And I was still struggling with it, but then I got to the NBA. I had a case with my ex-wife. I was mandated by the courts to take anger management, parenting class, marriage counseling. And so I was doing 3 sessions at one time in Sacramento, back to back. In Indiana, I was right after practice, you bring it in, 1, 2, 3 defense, and I go this way to the room with the psychologist. Teammates, they go home, you know. And when I met my marriage counselor, that's what really changed. I was 25. The way he was taught me and the way we went through sessions was different than anger management. So sometimes you don't even need anger management. It's like something else. So the marriage counselor actually got me more into it. So after my mandated sessions, I continued to see the therapist, and that's the lady I saw from Houston, and I continued to see her throughout my Laker career.
Did you Skype or do phone sessions, or how did you stay in touch?
I would fly her to LA. I needed personal eye contact.
It was clearly the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Here's another one from the audience. What would you tell a 5th grade student dealing with mental health issues when they're down on themselves and might want to give up on the task?
Kids going through so much emotions, and It's like so many things you could address. Are the parents in the child's life? Eating dinner at the table together. I know some parents have a hard time saying "I love you" to their child. I had to learn how to say that to my kid. I didn't know I never said "I love you" until somebody brought it to my attention. And the first time I said it to my big son, he looked at me like I was an alien. He was like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, I love you, man." And so it took a while. And nature, are the children being exposed to nature, animals, very important. It's so many things that you have to address when a kid is going through something. Are you giving them time? Are you going out and throwing a ball with them? If they say, "Hey, can we go outside and throw a ball?" Are you saying no, or are you saying yes? So many things that you can do to help your child.
And I was really touched in the book, even with his struggles, you made a point of talking about how much time your dad spent with you, going out and drilling and playing one-on-one and going to ball games with you. And
Being there. That's
My dad's amazing. I try to be like him all the time. He had some issues with my mom, which is very unfortunate. That no child should see. But he was there for me every day. When he left, I remember saying, "Dad, are you coming back? Am I going to see you again?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll be there." And he was there every day. I try to be like him all the time, and I can't, so I stopped trying. Yeah.
here's another question actually about kids, and it's clear, I think, that our audience has heard your passion for helping kids. So the question is, do you have any plans on delivering your story in a way that kids can understand? That this is a career hint, like perhaps a children's book. I think some of the audience wants you to write a children's book. What do you think?
I think the way I want to give back is, telling my story, promoting education, helping other 501c3s do their job, because a lot of 501c3s are doing really good stuff, and sometimes we try to reinvent because we want to be the ones doing it rather than just helping somebody who's doing something for a good cause. So I try to look at which 501c3s is doing things that I'm interested in, and it makes my job easier because I don't have to pay the bill for any events. I just show up and I support. And I can do more events like that.
So another member of the audience is actually interested in another thing related to kids, and that has to do, I think, with helping kids resolve conflicts and teaching kids negotiating or mediation skills. And I think that this person wants to know, is that something you ever thought about doing?
I went to, I think it was a prison that I visited. And it was San Quentin. And I did like a meditation session there. I took the things I learned from Coach Jackson. Coach Jackson wasn't there, so I had to do it. And I didn't make it up. I told him I didn't make this up, but I had a great coach. He teaches us meditation. And they had something that they were trying to learn, which is how to cope when something is imminent, about to happen. And that was like their word. And I remember the counselor just going through different things, and some kids got it rough because they grow up protecting themselves, trying to fight for themselves, and if something happened, they're gonna fight. Some will do more. Breathing exercises is something I think that's really cool. A lot of kids don't understand how to breathe and control your emotions. I learned that, and that helped a lot. I think schools should implement that. Different people should implement that. The schools are the parents for the most part, because the parents, it's hard to be a parent if you got to work 9 to 5, for one. Then if you're not in your child's life, then the kid don't even have a parent. So people can say what they want, but the schools are the parents. So the schools have to act like parents, and do things like a parent should do, so the kid gets that love.
You made reference to Coach Jackson, and of course he's referring to Phil Jackson, and any basketball fan in the room knows who that is. And Phil Jackson wrote the foreword to Metta's book, and reflected on the fact that in 1999, when Metta had just stood for the NBA draft, the Lakers spent some time with you. It turned out you didn't get drafted by the Lakers that time around, but then He was coaching the Lakers when you came to the Lakers in 99 or into 2009,
Yeah.
2010. And I thought his comments were so touching. So yeah, you were the MVP in Game 7, but he said he thought what meant more to you than MVP in Game 7 was getting the J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award from the NBA. I don't know if everybody in the room knows that came from that. Anything you want to say about that?
Absolutely. That award meant a lot because my career was so it was up and down. In Chicago, I remember my first team I was on, Jerry Krause coming to me and saying, "Hey, we want you here for the long term. Please get your act together." And then I would say, "Okay," and then I would do something stupid again. And then they had to trade me. And the same thing in Indiana. They had my back throughout the brawl. I get there the next year, and I just can't control myself. And I say I want to be traded and act out in the media. And then Larry Bird says, "Man, we got to get you out of here." And I say, "I'm sorry. Can I stay?" He said, "No, it's too late." And then when I got to Sacramento and Houston, everything was better, but the career was just up and down. And when I got that award, it just meant everything to me. It's the only award I have. All my other awards, all defensive teams, all NBA teams, those awards are cracked up in the bottom of some box. The ring is gone. The Defensive Player of the Year award is about to be raffled off. But the citizenship award is the one award I have in my kitchen. I love that award.
We hope the CI Care award can be so.
I have that award. I do have that award. I got all those awards.
Here's one you've never been asked before, although I'm sure people can use it in the answer. Can you tell us when and why you decided to change your name?
Yeah, Chad Johnson. Ocho Cinco.
I'm not sure people know who
Ocho
that is.
Cinco's a football player, number 85. When he changed his name, I'm like, "Oh wow, that's so cool. I'm gonna do that too, right?" You know how athletes are, we just do crazy things. And then I was like, okay, I had so many names that I wanted to change it to, and luckily I didn't. But then when I became more mature as the years go on, I said, okay, I still want to change my name. And I was getting into Buddhism a little bit even before I got here. And then I met Phil Jackson and everything was just aligning. And I said, I want to change my name to World Peace. And I remember the first time I changed my name and I checked into the Clippers game, in the preseason game, had my jersey on, my shooting shirt over, and I didn't want to take it off. I was so embarrassed. I'm like, I don't really want to get in the game. I want to change my name back. But I thought it was something that was, I wanted to do something that I wanted to be who I wanted to be instead of people telling me who I was. So I said, I'm just starting over. I'm going to be who I wanted to be from a child. And I just changed my name.
And the meta part?
Metta is, it means, by any means, like necessary, kindness, friendship, loving, and, it's a Buddhist name. And I love the name. And, I wanted something that I can wake up to. And when I hear it, and, it makes me feel good.
That
So I
sounds.
know it's like kind of like that.
Thanks. Here's another one. You mentioned a personal history of family members who had been incarcerated, which this person who asked the question says is a big problem for the Black community. Have you thought about expanding your advocacy to address the school to prison pipeline, the school to prison pipeline, and the juvenile justice system? We have a lot of people who want to help you find additional things to do, it seems.
It's that's a good question. So many times I have so many friends that went to prison for violence or drugs. One of my really good friends, he was really good at math, straight A's, and he just wanted to sell drugs. It was really weird. I'm like, why you just don't go to Harvard? Why you don't go? You just always loved the street life. In the neighborhoods it's hard because, as we all know, there's so much negativity in the neighborhood. You gotta duck and dodge and find the right group of people to be around. So many people doing weird stuff. You get caught up in drugs. When I was 13, I was in the kitchen and just like sometimes the police would come and we have crack and cooking crack right there and hoping they don't come in that door. You know, so many crazy situations like that. So now I gotta dodge that potential situation. It was very scary. So, you know, I just always maneuvered around, even though I always have to go home to that stuff, and my cousins and brother, everybody's selling drugs.
There's a very vivid scene in the book, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
in which you talked about your one-day experience of participating in that life and not really having the heart for it or the stomach for it, and getting chased into the apartment and somebody beating on the door but not coming in. And it was an amazing sequence. I think there are many intervals in this book that are worth reading, but that was one that stuck with me.
Yeah, it was, the first time I ever sold crack. I was 13, and you know, I went outside, and the dope fiend came to the building. I gave him the drugs. I was supposed to take the money, but I was scared. So I go back in the house, and I tell my cousin, he's like, okay, where's the money? I'm like, I couldn't take the money, man. I'm not doing this no more. This is not for me, you know. And then the other situation, you know, we had a situation where police knocking on the door. They knew it was drugs in the house, so I was gonna flush the drugs down the toilet. And my cousin yanked me back. Don't flush the drugs down the toilet. I'm like, we're about to go to jail, man. And but luckily they left, and I had to really maneuver out that situation, and it was like it's just not safe, you know, obviously, and then all, you know, when I grew up, I was pretty open with who my friends were the whole time when I was in the NBA, because it is what it is, what you're gonna do. But you're always trying to tell your friends, you know, I'm in the NBA now. I can't be around you guys, man. Y'all gonna be around me. I gotta act right. So, and then as you get older, you see the situation, and that's why I do so much. That's why I'm in the communities, you know, giving back and trying to steer people the right way. Because when you're inside, you just never know any wrong decision. You know, I had one of my friends, Mike Chatfield. We played against LeBron James the year we won the title against the Cavaliers, and I had Chatty on the side of my head. Really good basketball player, but he just always wanted to sell drugs. He went into prison. He was 15 years old. He beat me 32-2 one time. He was like, he was like the best player.
Not you remember every detail.
I remember that. It was a bad loss, and I was pissed. 32-2. He was the best player I ever played against. He was tough like Kobe, a lot of heart, but just loved the streets, and you know. So, you know, it was just things like that you know, you have to navigate, figure out how to move.
A couple things have happened in the last few months that, again, are almost a decade behind what you did in 2010, talking about your psychologist. As you know, Kevin Love made a decision to go public about his experience with having panic disorder. He did that before LeBron was traded. He's a Cavalier also, and I know that because when he finally chose to speak about it, he quoted LeBron as saying, "You helped a lot of people today by choosing to." He did a video interview with a journalist. Maybe you saw it. DeMar DeRozan likewise, and sort of now like the dominoes have started to fall. It almost gives you the idea that some of the stigma is really going away, and that professional athletes are beginning to feel not like this is a sign of weakness, but this is a sign of strength, and that, as you said, to tell the truth, to tell your story, to be authentic, is a sign of strength. In some ways, I think you're the guy that started all that with what you chose to do. Any thoughts about what these guys have done recently?
Yeah, I think it's great that they came out and, you know, they talked about something so vulnerable, and they did change people's lives. You know, 2 people in 1 year, you know, coming out. I wish like Rodman would have came out and been vulnerable, but sometimes back in the days when you see the athletes, you see them act out, spending habits. When you start to have those habits, something's wrong. Sex addicts, you know, something's wrong. You're suppressing something, you know, and anger management, you know, so many things are going on, you know, as an athlete, as a professional athlete, you know, and I think like with those guys coming out and make it easier for people to address everything, you know, and just get things out the way. You see the divorce rate is high, and not only athletes, you know, you see that the divorce rate is high just in general, you know, and so I think like with athletes coming out being a public figure, I think it does help. So I was very proud of Kevin and DeRozan.
Kevin was a UCLA basketball player. Very briefly, he played 1 year and then he went to the NBA, for those of you. Excellent. Somebody in the audience wants to know how they can get more information on the Yellowstone program that you spoke about.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing it with Grillo University, grillouniversity.org, which is my 501c3. And we're putting that event together now because the people at Yellowstone are so organized. They're doing it like 10 months in advance. I'm used to doing things like 1 week. You know, it'll be next summer, so we'll definitely be. I'll put it on Instagram. I'll put it on MettaWorldPeace.com, and we'll keep everybody updated. But we're trying to. We're going to raise money. They're helping raise money. Usually, it's me and Heidi, you know, raising money for foundations, and they're getting involved, which is great. I'm just so excited for this event. I think it's going to open up some different conversations and have more balance on the people that we're helping in America. I think it was always unbalanced, but now I feel like we're forgetting about a lot of people in these states that are struggling, you know, that are not black. And, you know, and as an African American, you know, I know what I've been through as African American, you know, and I do a lot for African Americans, but it's a whole group of people that we forget about. And even, you know, people of other ethnicities are forgetting about this group of people that are struggling, that are hungry, you know, so try to balance things back. You know, we want to do it, I think we can do it best in nature. We're going to do it in Wyoming and get these kids in some nature and hopefully show it. I'm not big on showing people what I do. I was never big on that, but I think it's important for people to see the good things that we're doing. So we'll hopefully film it, hopefully get it out there and inspire people to visit, you know, really nice places in America. So many times we're talking about so many negative things and we forget that America is really beautiful. A lot of people don't even know that, you know. So we want to promote that, and I'm excited about it.
Never been out of the city.
Never been out of the city, never been to the beach, never been to Wyoming, never been to North America. You know, beautiful places in Detroit, beautiful places in Minnesota in the summertime, right? And I think it's time to get kids to experience nature.
In case folks don't know, there's going to be an opportunity for book signing in the lobby in just a couple minutes. I've actually asked you the questions that I had and the ones that the others before. Is there any final comments you want to make? Anything else you want to tell us?
I'm definitely, I think I'm honored to be here. I didn't think I would have these opportunities. Always wanted to do stuff like this. I spoke at a YMCA dinner this summer. Things I always wanted to do. People I always wanted to be around because I was always trying to do things on my own. But I knew I needed to be around people who are in the communities. And every time I come to events like this, or I go to YMCA, I'm meeting people who's making a difference. And I'm able to connect. And I follow up. You know, and I'm just excited, so I appreciate being here. This is an honor. I'm a St. John's guy, but I've been at UCLA. I do so much at UCLA.
Yes. We feel like you're a UCLA guy. Thank you very much.